All right, Jim. This hasn't been that big of an exciting...
That's Kentucky's Jeff Carmen. This is final day action in the co-angler division of the Everstart Championship. Lawrence, Alabama, Pickwick Lake.
We had $10,000 in that Ranger boat.
So you say this is not exciting for?
Yeah, it is exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, in case you can't tell, I'm just a little bit...
I thought you might be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it's not every day you're standing here waiting to find out if you're going to win $40,000.
Not every day at all. Let's find out. We're going to bring in our number one angler now. Our number one angler for the last 2 days on Tuesday and Wednesday. Qualified in the top 50 just to make it to the championship. Then qualified in the top 10. And not only in the top 10, but into boat number one. Here she is. Renee Flesh from Edwardsburg, Michigan. Renee sitting right there. Hold on right there. All right, let's see. How we doing?
Pretty nervous.
Pretty nervous? How we doing?
Not good.
All right, step a little closer this way. A little closer this way. Let's see. Let's see. How much weight do you have?
I don't know. 2 pounds off. 2.6.
2 pounds 6. How much weight do you have?
20 pounds.
20 pounds.
Well, she doesn't have 20 pounds, but it wouldn't surprise anyone in the tent if she did. Renee Flesh has had a remarkable week on the co-angler side. Today, she's paired with pro Daryl Robertson. Daryl Robertson has threatened to run away from the field all week long. He has found some schooling fish in the lower end of Pickwick Lake. He's been doing very, very well each and every day. And that is great news for Renee Flesh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lord. He wasn't making much fuss, was he, for be chasing Chad? I think he'll keep. He may not. He may be one of them kind of just almost does
Here
too.
in the Everstart Championship, there are 3 divisions on the Everstart Tournament Trail: a northern, a central, and an eastern. The top 50 from all 3 divisions are gathered here for the championship. Daryl Robertson, of course, has won some big money before. This is Tommy Sanders, along with Jerry McKinnis, very interested in the co-angler side of things.
I should say, and I nearly jumped out of the boat, so to speak, when that fish broke a minute ago, and Daryl just flipped out a crankbait and caught him, didn't he?
Well, he's been doing all week.
Yeah, absolutely, and now he's really helping Renee. That one fish there means a lot to her.
Yeah. No, you're all right. You're fine. That's a good one there.
I'm not measuring him.
Believe it or not, Renee Flesh stands on the verge of becoming the first woman to ever win a major national fishing contest.
And she's done a good job, you know. And just watching her fish there, boy, she's got it down. Has a real good feel for her equipment, and I tell you what, they are sitting in a school of fish, and I'm sure that little set down that they've got going right there, and more ahead, people are going to wear out those majors. Aren't they?
Absolutely.
If we heard her make the comment that I'm not going to have to measure that one. It's so many of these fish need to be measured. There's no telling how many 12, 13-inch fish were caught during a 3 or 4 day period, and they need to be 14 plus.
That's what's made it hard on them all week this week. They've caught very few limits of fish, just a handful all week long among the pros and co-anglers. Pickwick, which usually yields up a ton of big smallmouth, has just not produced it.
Yeah, it just didn't do it. And you wouldn't think that anybody would be excited about 14 and a half inch bass. Renee is ecstatic, isn't she?
Every angler today will be very happy with 214 of you.
Big trouble. Half his tail's gone.
Daryl is catching up. He's clearing the way for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's getting the little guys out of the way, and she's throwing that crankbait out there and just picking up the keepers.
All right, Renee, we're going to bring them out one at a time. Got to get 2 pounds 6 ounces to win what? What are you fishing for?
Largemouth.
No, prize-wise.
$10,000.
$10,000 and
Outboat.
in a Ranger boat.
Yes, sir.
You get to 2.7.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's try it. Here we go. Let's see. Here's one in the back here. And this fish weighs in at 1 pound, 13 ounces. Let's just go to reach again. Don't look good.
No, it don't.
There's another one. And I think that'll do it, right? Is there any more? That's it. 2 fish in the bag. Total weight here, 4 pounds even. We have a champion. Wow. Wow. Wow, this is unbelievable. I don't believe, Renee, that we've ever had a number 1 boat on the co-angler side go ahead and win.
Really?
And not only have we never had a number 1 boat win, I don't think we've never had a lady angler win the Everstart Championship before. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that great? One of these 5 guys here is going to win $25,000 cash and a beautiful Ranger boat here tomorrow. They'll start back at 0. We're going to have a real shootout, a test of stamina. It might be from the Everstart boat here. Ricky Groves from Hebron, Ohio. Or it could be the man sitting in the Alpo boat, Ricky Shumpert from Lexington, South Carolina. Or possibly the man sitting back in the Coleman boat, Greg Pugh from Coleman, Alabama. Or maybe our man in the Fuji boat, Jim Akins from Nixon, Missouri. Or possibly our man in the Chevy boat, Joe Balog from Independence, Missouri. One of those 5 guys will walk out of here tomorrow with a Ranger boat and $25,000 in.
With this fog, we could be anywhere in the world, but believe it or not, we are here on Pickwick Lake in Florence, Alabama. Jerry McKinnis, Tommy Sanders, and it is the Everstart Championships. The Everstart Tour has 3 divisions, a northern, a central, and an eastern. They've taken the top 50 anglers from each division, fished them here for 3 days, and we're down to 5 who, like so many of our tournaments this year, have their work cut out for them.
Oh, I should say, and I have my work cut out for me. I'm freezing to death. I'm keeping my jacket on. Believe it or not, there is a bridge right behind us, Highway 72
right
bridge.
there.
If these guys ever do get out on the water, and I think, Tommy, as we speak, I think it's breaking up here a little bit. So they're going to get out there, and they'll be on a fishery that is noted for giant smallmouth bass. But doggone it, that smallmouth fishing has really been tough this week. Got some good anglers, though. I believe they might scare up one. And it's going to be fun with these guys because we got a mixture here. We got a guy that's been at the FLW finals before, but we got some new guys too. Some guys starting out their career, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like for them to have a shot like this.
It is a good group led by Jim Akins of Nixon, Missouri. He's been around for a good long time. He's done a lot in the world of bass fishing. He led the way, as we say. Greg Pugh from Coleman, Alabama, just down the road. Ricky Shumpert, who's the fellow you mentioned. Right. He's qualified for a top 5 already this year on the FLW Tour right here in Alabama on Lake Martin. Richard Gross from Hebron, Ohio, and Joe Balog from Independence, Ohio. And again, they got a lot of work to do today, but it should be a good contest.
Well, the delay in the takeoff will cut down on our fishing time, and yes, that will bother because there's an early bite and there's a late bite.
One of the reasons we look at the fog with so much trepidation is that we have a locked schedule to hit, one that we just can't miss and win this thing.
10 after 7, I'm getting a little antsy. I'd like to be out there right now fishing. I'd like to at least be through the locks. But we got a fog delay, so everybody's in the same boat. The guys that are fishing in Pickwick are going to have a little advantage today for sure because they're not going to waste that hour and a half time range in the locks. And it's going to be a short day. So I may only have 3 hours to fish, but fog comes up, we're going no matter what.
Joe Balog is from Cleveland, Ohio, Lake Erie, and I tell you what, he had a heck of a day yesterday.
Oh, look at him. Oh, man, he is such an emotional kid in the first place, Tommy. Don't you know, missing that fish, and again, how precious one fish is. I'm sure that he thought that when he lost that, he was out of luck for coming back again today, but he did fool around catching 2 pretty good ones.
Yesterday's weigh-in, of course, we play everybody's fish catches. This is what we played for Joe, the missed fish. There's what made him feel even worse. He thinks we're probably the meanest people on earth.
Made him relive that.
12-9 on the first day, 9-2 the second day. He only caught 3 pounds, 4 ounces yesterday, but hung on to get in 5th place.
Well, it's 25 minutes after 7. We're an hour late now taking off. If we lock through, which we need to lock through, that'll be another hour, so we'll have 2 hours gone if we left right now. And the fog looks to me like it's thicker now than it was a while ago. So since I'm in the lead, as far as I'm concerned, they could call it right now. And I'm sure that won't happen.
Well, you think we'd be fishing by now? It's 8:30. Most days we were fishing for quite a while by now. It's all cleared out back in here in the creek. Problem is over here, main river. Still fogged in. It's moving out pretty good now, it seems like. But I think we're going to be here for a little bit.
Right now it is 10 minutes to 9. We can get out of here in the next 10 minutes. Maybe we'll be okay. Sure, give it a shot. Still got a 2-hour ride. We'll have about an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the most. So that's been catching my fish within about 30 minutes. We'll just have to take the ride and see what happens. It's about the only thing I've got to go on.
We are just about ready to take that ride. Our fog delay has come to an end. The fog is lifted. Our anglers are preparing their boats to leave. It is 9 in the morning. Greg Pugh, one more time this week, has to touch base with the lock master.
This is Greg again. We're fixing to blast off. He's getting ready to set us out. There'll be 3 of us, I think, and 3 camera boats. Yes, sir, I believe that's right. All right, thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. Talking to the lock master, my buddies. 2 of them is going to be my buddies today because this is going to be where I make it or break it. Hope I can make it. We're going to give it a shot and see.
All right, it is time to go. There's Charlie Evans. He's officially releasing our boaters into Lake Pickwick. We'll be going downstream, most of them going upstream, headed toward the lock.
And it's looking pretty good now, Tommy. And for the longest, when you look back behind the marina, it was so blue and nice, and you would wonder, well, what is the problem there?
Any second, we're going.
Man, if you look out there in the river, we just still a big fog bank. But the guys are ready to go, and we're going to follow a few of them up towards the dam. And as you said, a lot of them are going down the lake as well.
Walmart FLW Tour. It is the Everstart Championship on Pickwick Lake, Florence, Alabama, right across from famed Muscle Shoals. Actually, we have 3 lakes along the Tennessee River here. There's Pickwick, where we're launching above the Wilson Dam. It's Wilson Lake, and also Wheeler Lake up above that, where we actually had an event back in 1997. Tennessee River, usually great fishing, has been tough all week long.
And many of our guys are going way down Pickwick. Several of them are going into Wilson. Tommy, we got one fisherman that's going all the way to Wheeler Dam, and this is some lock. Have you ever been in that?
Unbelievable. Wilson Lock. This is the tallest lock east of the Mississippi. These guys are going to change their elevation almost 90 feet from Wilson to Pickwick Lake.
And they actually can fill it pretty fast when you get right down to it. The boy, it's very nerve-wracking to sit in that lock, knowing that you're losing fishing time. Sometimes, especially when you're in there by yourself, there's not a whole lot to do. We're watching Greg Pugh, though. He's still on his way to Wheeler.
Oh, he's got 2 locks to go.
Absolutely, 2. Joe is ready to go.
What I'm fishing is a creek channel. And what there is there's some flats and points that run out to it. A lot of them have cover on them, stumps, logs, brush piles, man-made. They come out off this point. There's a couple key areas, it seems like, throughout the week, these little fingers that kind of run off these points. They got a hard bottom and, like I say, a lot of cover. When the fish want to feed, they just come out of this channel and they move up on these little fingers. I'm just throwing a big crankbait, just cranking it around down by the stumps. You get hung up a ton. It seems like when you hit them, sometimes they school and you could hit a bunch of them in a row. Other times you just got to keep scratching and look for a reflex bite just by banging it off the cover.
Jim Akins is fishing as well, and this ought to be a sight that's very familiar to a guy who fishes Table Rock and Lake of the Ozarks, places like that, boat docks.
And believe it or not, even though he's in Wilson, he was probably the closest of any angler to the takeoff spot. And Greg Pugh, just about to make it to Wheeler. 10 minutes to 10.
We should be fishing by 10:30.
The first day I found this place was the first.
Just about got all our fishermen accounted for. Ricky Shumpert is finally on his spot down at the other end of Pickwick, almost to the dam.
And the first cast I made in this little hole, told my partner, I said, there he is. I set the hook and I took my time and got him in the boat. It was 2. I had 1 on each hook. Neither one of them kept, but I told my partner, I said, undoubtedly there's got to be a few fish in that hole to catch 2 at 1 cast. And we sat here and probably caught 20 bass. We didn't catch but 4 keepers, but probably caught 20 bass out in this hole. And every day we've been catching several fish, just not getting a lot of keepers.
There is Richard Gross, also on Pickwick Lake.
Fishing the main lake, too. You know what he's after? He's after one big smallmouth. He's fishing ledges and those points down towards our dam. And Greg is maybe 15 or 20 minutes away from actually fishing.
FLW Tour Show this week covering the Everstart Championship from Pickwick Lake. This is Richard Gross of Hebron, Ohio. Richard actually grew up near Lake Washington in Arkansas.
It's skinny. I know this is a great fishery, but I swear fishing has been awful this week. It's just been during practice. I practiced 4 days, and one day I caught 2 keepers. The rest of the time I only caught 1 keeper a day. It's just real slow fishing. In practice, I was covering a lot of water, trying to, key on boat docks and blowdowns and some deep water drops, and I just couldn't get on anything that really related to a pattern. Just you had to go fishing. And then the first tournament day, I found this one little spot here, and it's been good to me for a couple of days. It might play out this morning. Yesterday and Thursday, the gulls were in here, but they wasn't chasing bait fish. So there's some bait fish in here today. Maybe they'll bite.
Ricky Shumpert of Lexington, South Carolina. Earlier this year on the Walmart FLW Tour, looked for all the world like at least one of the men to beat there. He had a great system going there at Lake Martin down there in Alabama, considerably south of here, doing some spinnerbait fishing and some little light worm, trick worm fishing.
He's kind of doing a little bit of tricking right now. Look at he has a very light spinning outfit, and this just should impress everybody about how valuable these fish are. This can't be a very big fish. And look at him baby it. He's just barely, he's fishing a small crankbait. Took that fish obviously up there in shallow water, and he is just babying that fish. You got to remember now, these guys lost several hours this morning, maybe 2 of the best hours they lost. And so 1 fish, 2 fish, even 3 fish, it's just a big bag of fish for these guys. And Tommy, then on top of everything else, fishing just couldn't be any tougher.
Got to remember, too, we have a 14-inch limit, which eliminates so many fish. These guys have a hard time making a limit. In fact, the chances are they won't make a limit today.
Now that is barely hooked. 15.5. Good job.
Jim Akins probably has some sort of piece of plastic tied on there, Jerry. He's just working those boat docks, Missouri style. He fishes that Central Missouri Pro-Am Tour, one of the toughest, smaller tours in the country.
And you know what? He's about 10 minutes from the lock. And that particular cove is got so many, well, every one of the coves on Wilson is just full of these boat docks, but this one is wall-to-wall boat docks, and he has a really good plan. I always kind of question that during the week when there's 150 boats out there, because it's just one boat lined up after the other. Looks like and small fish. We're going to see that a lot. But man, when you have the whole thing to yourself like he does today, that's a pretty good idea to fish these boat docks, because they're perfect habitat, perfect cover, and these fish are underneath those docks.
Oh my. Stay hooked up, baby. Stay hooked up and be a bass. Come on, be a bass. Stay hooked up. Oh, he's coming at the boat. Must he come off? Don't stay. Come on.
Woohoo! You're going to the picnic?
Yes, sir. I think he'll go. I don't know. He sure looks like he's long and skinny. Oh my, we're going to the parade.
Joe Balog, like all these anglers today, more than happy to accept any fish that the lakes will yield up, at least ones over 14 inches.
And Joe's fishing on Wilson. He's probably about a half a mile from Wheeler Dam, back in a pocket. And you know what? He's fishing a little island, and you watch all day long. He's going to do nothing but go around and around that island.
Went ahead and put a little dye job on him. My buddy Rob Strader's been painting them up. Let me just paint. Water's been so stained in here. That seems to always be a key in crankbait fishing, that you have to get your bait to run straight. Sometimes you'll buy 5, 6 baits, the same exact bait, the same exact color off of the shelf in the store. And one of them will track better than the others, and one of them will catch more fish, and some of them you just never can get to track right. It's almost a shame for what you pay in plugs, but sometimes you have to go through a bunch of baits. I had probably 30 baits or 35 baits this week, and I think I've caught all my fish on about 6 of them. I think 4 of them are on the bottom of this lake. Nope, I think I only got a couple left.
Back to Jim Akins of Nixa, Missouri. As a matter of fact, you can listen to Jim, and sometimes you think you're listening to Guido Hibden.
Yeah,
Missouri
that's
accent.
true.
That Missouri accent is strong.
Although Guido isn't quite as good as Jim at catching these drums. And I have an idea that's what Jim has done right here.
Maybe a point of pride.
And it is a dandy drum.
A dandy drum. Well, I'll tell you what, them things hit a jig just exactly like a smallmouth, so it will wake you up.
Get the adrenaline going. These guys, of course, came down here with the expectations of catching a lot of smallmouth. It hasn't worked out that way this week. Doesn't mean we don't have some tremendous competition today. We'll be right back. The Walmart FLW Tour this week featuring the Everstart Championships. And from the Northern Division, this is Richard Gross, one of our 5 finalists. One of 3 so far who are on the board. He's got 1 fish, 1.5 pounds. Joe Balog and Ricky Shumpert each have a 2-pound fish.
Tom, that's not much of a scoreboard, kid.
Not yet.
Can't you do better than
Oh.
that? Hey, this is just tough fishing. And you have to remember now, these guys have missed 2 hours, the best 2 hours of the day.
Joe Balog's from Cleveland, Ohio. That means Lake Erie, and that means awesome smallmouth fishing, and probably very used to being in tournaments where you have to catch 20 pounds a day.
Hey, I've seen
Just to
him
catch
on
up.
the top of that Everstart list up there in that Northern Division with 20 pounds. I want to talk to him about it.
Well, you did a good job, Joe. I will say this, of adjusting to sort of diminished expectations down here, really digging in and grinding out a good tournament so far.
Yeah, it's been real tough. I mean, where I'm from, you catch 20 pounds and you think it's great, and you come in and somebody has 21, and then another guy has 22, and so
That's got to be even harder mentally in some ways, right?
Yeah, at times it is. You get to it's just like anything else, though. You get to the point where you know what you need. You know, you go out and you have those days when you catch 20 pounds, but you lose a couple big ones, and there's always somebody who doesn't. So,
Hey, well, staying on the subject of that Northern Division, how do you handle the rough water up there? And, you know, you have to have a whole different outlook at fishing on Lake Erie.
oh, absolutely. You know, as far as the rough water goes, it's just one of those deals where, fortunately, you know, when you're fishing Lake Erie, the best areas a lot of times are far away, but everybody's going kind of the same area. So when you're in rough water and it's taking you hours and hours to get to a spot, everybody's kind of in the same boat. So you go out with the mental outlook sometimes that you're going to run the boat for 4 hours just to get a couple of miles there and back, and you know, maybe only fish for 3 hours. But when the fishing's good, it doesn't make any difference.
Is there anything at all that you could bring from that kind of fishing that would help you down here in Pickwick?
I tried to bring some smallmouth knowledge down here. I practiced for a couple of days real hard fishing for smallmouth in some current areas and some main lake stuff. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to put together much in the way of keepers. So I pretty much decided I was going to go largemouth fishing. So nothing what I'm doing now is what I do up there.
Okay, one more thing. What do you mean by smallmouth knowledge?
Oh,
no, man. Me too.
You know, you get a feel for where smallmouth like to hang out, how they like to relate to current, things like that, and you know how they get affected by weather changes and things like that. So you try and bring that with you, but it's kind of a different game down here. The guys that catch them down here, the big smallies, they're masters of fishing in the current, things like that, whereas we're kind of masters of fishing in the big waves.
What size line do you fish with up there? What size are you fishing with down here?
I fish up there with 10-pound tests and 8-pound tests quite a bit. Fluorocarbon line for tube fishing. And surprisingly, not right this second, but what I've mainly been doing this week is cranking with that same 10-pound fluorocarbon. So it's the same deal.
Okay.
Joe, you mentioned yesterday that you really admired Rick Clunn and his approach to fishing. So obviously you put a lot of importance on the mental side of the game. Which part of your mental game needs the most development? What are you working the hardest on?
I think right now I'm working the hardest on trying to become aware of when it is that I feel like I'm fishing the best mechanically and mentally. You start to recognize it after a time. The first day of competition, I kind of really got going with them, and I could feel that I was kind of in that timeless sense where you could just whale away on them, and every cast you knew you'd have a fish, and I did. And I'm just really trying to focus and trying to learn more on how it is you get to that stage and convince yourself you're going to come into that stage, even on days like today where you only have a couple hours to fish and you don't have a fish yet.
That sounds like a good approach. Joe, good luck to you. It's been great to meet you. Go ahead.
One more thing, Joe.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about admiring Ricky Clunn so much. You know the thing he struggles with more than anything is smallmouth bass fishing. Maybe you two guys can get together.
Anytime he wants to get together, I'll take him up there.
Okay.
Joe makes a great point, really about all sports. A lot of people are good at remembering and being very cognizant of what they were doing wrong when they made a mistake. But everyone has a hard time remembering how it felt when you were doing it right, and that's the real key to success.
Yeah, that's right.
Consistent success.
And people don't take that in consideration with fishing enough. They think that only works in basketball and in tennis and so on. These guys these are athletes too. They really are, and they're focused, and the mental game is very important.
The Everstart Championships this week on the Walmart FLW Tour. We're in Pickwick Lake, and of course the string of Tennessee River Lakes. This is Greg Pugh of Cullman, Alabama. Had to be one of the favorites coming in here because of his experience on these lakes and the fact that he is a fairly accomplished tournament fisherman. Boy, he's had a hard time today. That's his first keeper.
That's his first keeper, and boy, just think about this now. He had a lock through twice. Everybody got a 2-hour delay to begin with, so he virtually has about 1 hour of fishing time. Boy, watch him measure, and all that tail has to do is get
Bump that 14.
Oh, and it did probably about an eighth of an inch. But he's got a tough go with that short of a fishing day.
That fish could be a $50,000 fish.
Ricky Shumpert, as we mentioned earlier in the show, made a top 5 already this year on the FLW Tour,
Right,
the big tour.
Last time I saw him, he was throwing a floating worm.
A floating worm and a lot of spinnerbait action there. And Ricky, having made 2 top 5s in 1 year, I can ask you this. Do it suddenly come back to you when you make the second one and says, oh, this is the way I was doing it. This is the way that it feels. I wish I'd never forgotten how to approach these tournaments, or does it always surprise you?
It always surprises you when you fish against this caliber fisherman. You know, a lot of people say, oh, this is just the Everstart Trail. You're not fishing against Rick Clunn and Kevin Van Dam. But a lot of these guys are just as good as the big-name pros. They just don't either have the funds or, you know, the exposure to make it big. There's a lot of great fishermen in the Everstart Tour.
I think that's a great statement, Rick. I really appreciate you saying that. And when you come over here, it probably didn't take you very long to start realizing this is going to be pretty tough fishing. What do you start doing? Do you start changing your approach, changing your lures, your line? Is there anything you do differently when you see it's going to be a
a tough deal to catch many fish.
Yes, I definitely changed my line. We're fishing a little off-colored water, and normally I would be using 15 to 20 pound test line in this color water. I have downsized to 8-pound test line, and it's making a difference in getting bites.
Are you throwing a trick worm right now?
Right now, I just picked up a brush hog. I'm flipping some underwater brush piles out in the middle of this oxbow.
Talk us through a cast. Tell us exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
There's some underwater brush piles here, and the fish, they have stopped pulling current. And the fish, when they stop pulling current, will pull into these brush to hide their eyes from the sun or whatever reason. And, I'll throw a trick worm, which I'm throwing a trick worm on a light Carolina rig. I'm throwing an 1/8 ounce sinker, and I'm just dragging it real slow across the bottom. Right now I'm flipping a brush hog, Texas rig style, just letting it fall directly down into the cover, trying to get a reaction strike, because the fish have quit feeding completely. When we first got here, there were seagulls flying everywhere and bait fish jumping and white bass schooling. And
that's primarily caused by current or lack of current, right?
Yes, it's caused by lack of current right now. They have completely shut the water off. So, we're not getting, all the activity has ceased. And we're just, right now, if I catch a fish right now, it's going to have to be a reaction bite, and it's going to have to be dropped right in front of his nose to make him bite it.
Ricky, has your success at landing the fish that you've hooked up with gotten better through the week, or has it gotten tougher?
It's been just about the same. I lost 2 keepers the first day. The second day, I only lost 1 keeper. I only had 2 bites. One of them happened to be a 4-pound, 14-ounce smallmouth, but I lost only 1 keeper the second day. Yesterday, I lost 2 keepers. Today, I believe I've only had 2 keeper bites, and I've caught both of them. So my success rate has went up just a little bit today.
A lot of people, most folks will tell you that the way the fish whack that lure has a lot to do with whether the current is running or not also.
Oh, definitely. They are really hitting it hard when the current's running, and when they're not moving any water, it's just, you get a little pressure on it is all you get.
All right, Ricky Shumpert, congratulations, man, on such a great year. I expect we'll be seeing more and more of you in the years to come.
Thank you, sir. First day I had a little over 19 pounds. Second day I had 3 fish, weighed 16.1. The third day I had almost 18 pounds. And then the last day I came in, I had 5 fish, weighed 28.6. So that's a big difference in what we're fishing for here for 4 or 5 pounds all day long. And I had the 28 pounds, 6 ounces by 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, I looked at my partner and I told him, I said, buddy, I don't know what I can do to better this weight. I don't know where any larger fish are at. So we went and worked on his limit the rest of the day, and he wasn't a very accomplished sight fisherman. Here he is. If this is a bass, this is a good one. Come on, darling. Oh, yeah. Yes. That's what we need. Can go anywhere and catch them shallow. He can catch them deep. And what it is, he gets it in his mindset that he knows what the fish should be doing, and he's going to change his presentation or change his, lures or whatever until he figures out what they're doing. And he's not going to let a little, a couple hours downtime affect his whole day. And you try and learn from that. A lot of people get in the mode, the fish are biting a crankbait. I'm going to throw a crankbait all day long. And once you go so long without a bite, you lose the mental edge. And it's really, you got to keep your head in this game. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you can fish hard and you still can't get bit. There's nothing you can do about it. But the fish have got to cooperate with you. I just try and keep myself focused. It's real hard to do, especially if you're not getting bit. Super hard to do.
yesterday afternoon, they seemed like they was back in them pockets and all that shade. Every day before, they've been on them real deep banks. I caught some fish right down through here in practice that were short, but they wasn't a lot short.
Jamaicans back in Lake Wilson underneath the docks there. That's what he's hoping is going to pay off for him. The time is ticking away, though.
Catching a lot of spotted bass. We haven't said much about that before. So many of the fish they catch are the Kentucky spotted bass, and they're normally too small. And a lot of the largemouth are small as well. Boy, especially during the qualifying days, I mean, there were some great smallmouth. Not lots of them, you know. One guy would have a 4-pounder, one guy'd have a 3.5, and, you know, they were just so, hey, this one is all right.
That's
this
a good
is the
fish there.
largemouth. This is the real thing right here. Ooh, don't
Thank
you
you,
know
Lord.
he's happy to see that. Oh.
Oh, he's hooked good too.
That's what we need.
Here's one of our little brush piles that's hid out here in the middle. Let's see if we can get a bite out of it. We're a little close to it. The other one should be right behind us. There's 2 of them right here. We got a bite. Won't keep, but we got a bite. Got a bite, but he won't keep.
Fish a lake like this with a 14-inch limit, pretty soon you get to thinking that every 9 out of every 10 fish are 13.5 inches long.
Yeah, and you know what you do? You start taking the strikes for granted, and I bet you from time to time a fisherman is kind of messed up by not getting serious about every strike that he has, because really, I know we're not seeing everything here, but these guys are literally catching from 5 to 20 non-keepers every day.
There. Oh, my.
$400 post. Went to a deeper bait. He was out here off the end of this. I come up here, I threw that little buoy, because when I came up to get a snag bait, I saw that it came up real good right there, and that was the end of that finger, and I marked fish way down on the bottom of it. I've been catching them up high, but I marked them way down in about 12, 13 foot of water. I put on 400 posts. It goes about 2 foot deeper than that 300. I had a way. Yes. Yeah, joined it, buddy. I always like it when you got more than one in there. Whew. Oh, son. That's a good one there. That fish there's 2 3/4 pounds. Nope. I need 3 more fish. Then we'll go back. We'll drink Pepsi and eat sandwiches and have a good old time. Well, I'll buy dinner. How's that? That same guy I was telling you, Rob, was painting them baits. He was telling me he was catching his. He was fishing up in here with me a little bit this week and caught a few. And he was catching his more in the channel on a 400 and a DD22, keeping it deeper. I thought, man, combed that spot enough times with that 300. If they were up there, they would have ate it. But they got throw this big one up there. Current changed too. That's why I come up from the other way.
Balog made the little correction. He's on to something. Things are looking good for him. Hey, what time is looking tight for this man right here, Drake Pugh of Cullman, Alabama.
So we'll say once again that he had much farther to go than ever. Well, actually, the guys way down Pickwick went as far as he did, but they didn't have to go through 2 locks.
Yeah, he was definitely hurt the most by the fog delay.
Man, I should say, just figure this, you know, he's going all this distance to fish one little spot. He had
little
one
fish,
little boat up there that he was throwing Carolina rigs over. He was throwing a little finesse worm. I think he was even throwing a crankbait.
Oh, yeah.
Once you fish it, Tommy, and
Those skinny
it doesn't pay off.
But
Well,
that
you're
fish
in a
will
lot of
weigh a pound
trouble
and a half.
'cause you have nowhere else to go.
2 fish now, and it's amazing. About 14 inches long, and together wouldn't weigh
Sir?
3 pounds.
Oh.
We ain't got much time. Boys, the locks are going to be mad if we're late. Real mad.
Oh, run out of time. Got to go.
You know, Greg Q is disappointed today. Certainly had high hopes. The finals of the Everstart Championships pretty much on his home water, but boy, the fog delay really hurt him. He's in the Wilson Lock right now, just right around the corner from the weigh-in site, and we will get the weigh-in underway. We're going to decide a winner. Don't go away. They are the final two. Your leader, Joe Balog, 4 pounds and 5 ounces. One man left, Jim Akins, Nixa, Missouri. Joe, why don't you come on up here? We're going to be a close-knit group here. We got room for everybody. We're down to 2. Jim Akins, you need 13 pounds in order to take the lead. 13 pounds of fish.
13 ounces.
13 ounces, I'm sorry.
Don't
Just
give
kidding.
him a
Just testing. Just wanted to make sure you were paying attention. I think you was. Jim Akins, 13 ounces is what we need. Jim, bring it up. Oh, my goodness. There's your champion right here, Joe Balog. Man, oh, man. Driving down here, did you think at all this was a possibility?
Now, if I say no, because everybody says I can say yes, that's all I can hear. It's always a possibility. I didn't think with 4 or 5 it was going to be a possibility. I thought I was out yesterday. I shouldn't even be here.
What were you thinking when the fog was there? You pulled into the parking lot there. You knew you were going to be waiting a while. I mean, everybody's got a different way to deal with that. Everybody's got a different story. What went through your mind start of the day?
Hey, hang on, I got to give this little girl right here a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah?
She gave me a thumbs up before.
All right.
Thank you.
Go. Back at you.
What went through my mind today? I'll tell you, I thought I had the fish to win all week, and it got really tough throughout the week. And evidently they were the fish to win, even with just a couple of them. I got lucky yesterday. The fish I caught, I only landed 1 keeper. I lost a keeper yesterday. I only landed 1, and it was just enough to get me here. And today with that fog delay, I didn't know how it was going to affect me. I was fishing in Wilson Lake, and I was running through the locks, not as far as some of the guys, but I knew I was going to have a short day, and it was really tough this week, and I needed like every minute I had. But I guess it was enough time. I didn't even catch a fish until about, I don't know, they know, but probably like 11:30, and then I caught another one like at 12:30.
So there was a point there that you thought, hey, this may be all is lost, huh?
I had my lucky underwear on again.
Yeah, we're going to ask about the lucky. Still on? Still with the lucky underwear?
I told the lady yesterday, she gave me this shirt, and I said, this is the lucky shirt because this is the one Daryl Robertson won all the money. And I said, if I win it, I'm going to frame this shirt. I'm going to frame my underwear with it.
If it's, yeah. It's the shirt that's been on top of the lucky underwear, so I guess you could still call it a lucky shirt. You talked all week, every day of the tournament, up on stage, you stressed the importance of current, how important that was to you catching your fish. Did that turn out to be the story today?
I didn't really have any current today. A little bit back and forth. I've been fishing in a creek, and this lake really fluctuates with current a lot. I've been fishing a creek in Lake Wilson. I've been fishing a crankbait as fast as I can fish it and reeling a deep dive and post 300. And I'll tell you why I won this tournament. I didn't have current the last 2 days, and I just struggled, and it didn't seem like my fish were really coming back. So because the first day was great. So I just kept winding, and eventually you'd hit one in the face, and I had buoys on my spots. My buoys are still out there. I heard one of them is, I think, somewhere, but I had buoys on my spots, and I mean, you had to cast sometimes 5 and 6 times and reel the bait, and you'd feel it hit a stump, and sometimes 6 and 7 times I'd hit the same stump, and then I'd get a fish, or I'd just change my angle just a little bit. But one of the reasons, I think the reason I won is because one of the guys I travel with is Rob Strader from Ohio. And he fished in the area with me. I found the fish, and I gave him an area. But he fished deeper, and he fished a Pose 400 and a DD 22, and I've been fishing a Pose 300. And today, at the end of the day, I had 1 fish, and I came up to get a bait hung up from a stump. And I came up on this little lip that I had been fishing, on this little point, and I saw on the base of the drop in 10 and 12 foot of water 2 big arches.
and I threw a marker on it. So I knew I'd make the cast. And I backed up and I put a 400 pose on. And about my third cast in, right underneath the boat, in about 12 foot of water, the rod loaded up and I caught that bigger fish.
Well, we featured Joe Balog losing a fish yesterday, but the Fuji Flashback is one of his major catches today.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.